Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're listening, and welcome to today's webcast, How CIOs Are Combating the Great Resignation. I'm Dan Turchin, PeopleReign CEO. As you know, PeopleReign is the world's most used system of intelligence for IT and HR employee service. Our virtual agent understands about 5 million common work concepts. On day one, it speaks 27 languages and it typically reduces call volume by about 65%. We'll share new innovations coming out of the PeopleReign lab in just a bit. Our name is no coincidence. We firmly believe technology transforms, but now and in the future, people reign. We're proud to be defining how the next billion employees will live and work. Thanks to our great partner, Thirdera, for sponsoring today's event. We've been excited about this one for months because it represents the culmination of more than a year of research we've conducted with CIOs about how they're using technology to deliver better employee experiences. We'll divide today's discussion into 5 sections. I'll first discuss the numbers behind the Great Resignation. Then Sabrina Morin from Thirdera will share how technology is helping employees stay engaged at work. I'll then summarize highlights from the PeopleReign research report, share a demo of AI-driven automation in action, and we will make sure to leave time for your questions before we wrap up. If you'd like to learn more after today's discussion, we'll be sharing the full research report and scheduling custom AI briefings for your organizations. Now, a little bit about this phenomenon we call the Great Resignation. I think it's fair to say work has changed more in the past, say, 24 months than it did in the previous probably 24 years. As employees were left wondering what's ahead and rethinking what really matters. Minor annoyances at work might have seemed insignificant a couple of years ago, but we've been reminded that every day is precious and we're no longer okay tolerating the same friction at work that we once did. The numbers that you see here tell that story. SHRM has summarized what Texas A&M organizational psychologist Anthony Klotz labeled in Q4 of 2021, the Great Resignation. It's the external representation of this cognitive shift leading workers to leave bad situations. Now, diving deeper into the numbers behind this SHRM data are some interesting patterns. In the last quarter of 2021 alone, more than 13 million American workers quit their jobs. 74% of full-time job seekers plan to quit this year. 58% of workers are actively looking to change jobs. This is cataclysmic relative to previous years, like what you saw in the previous slide. 76% of workers say they want more flexibility in where they work. 93% of workers want more flexibility in when they work. We're at a record low 3.9% unemployment. That's down from 14.7% during the height of the pandemic in April of 2020. And the rate of inflation has skyrocketed to a shocking 7.04%, we'll call it 7%, versus a historical average of about 3%. It's up 417% in the past 12 months alone, which basically means that paycheck you're getting is not going nearly as far as it once did. So to summarize, we're less tolerant of toxic work cultures at a time when there are more jobs and our paycheck is effectively shrinking. As leaders, how do we use this as an opportunity to build stronger organizations? Well, we start with improving the employee experience. We invited Sabrina Morin, Senior Engagement Manager at Thirdera, to share how the best performing organizations are doing just that today. Sabrina, welcome to the webcast.
Hi, everybody. I am Sabrina Morin. I am currently a Senior Engagement Manager here at Thirdera. Been doing so for about 6 years, but in my previous life, I worked HR. That was my bread and butter, my passion, and it continues to be so as we move forward. With this, we want to examine today how technology can help you improve the employee experience as a whole. So the US job reports released last month tells us that well over 20 million people quit their jobs in the second half of 2021. Employee turnover is impacting all industries, all markets, all skill levels. But this is especially hitting hospitality, food services, recreation, entertainment, retail, and professional and business services. So not only are people looking for better pay, but they want perks, they want flexibility, they want connection, belonging, and respect. And they're willing to leave if they don't get it. So this is a moment where employers will have to rethink what loyalty means and how to retain workers beyond merely just a paycheck. So you can offer an employee a great benefit, but if nobody knows about it, it doesn't matter, right? It might as well not exist. Smart organizations are finding ways to engage their employees, to support their employees, and to make work enjoyable. At Thirdera, we work with clients to implement Servicenow to create to create an employee-focused solution, with the main goal being to enable organizations to create a simple, engaging employee experience from anywhere. So we're seeing our customers utilize ServiceNow to better engage their employees, to find ways to support their employees both professionally and on a personal level, and to allow for more flexibility in an independent workforce. Employees today, they want to be involved in their work, right? They want to be enthusiastic about an organization that they work for, and they want to have a sense of belonging. Employee engagement is synonymous with concepts like employee satisfaction and the employee experience, which is more really about the complete employee journey from hiring to when they leave their job. And we've been working with our clients utilizing ServiceNow to achieve this goal. Some of the tools that we use within the ServiceNow environment. ServiceNow has what we call an employee center. So the employee center creates a compelling employee experience, providing guidance to employees through moments that matter. And we can customize this experience to them by role, by geography, and so forth. So you don't have a generic portal, but instead you have a greater ability to give each employee more of a tailored experience, right? And here they can go to easily get services from HR, IT, facilities, and any other department that you want to involve. They can track their organizational to-dos. They can find answers to their questions in the knowledge base, for example, instead of dealing with the frustration of not knowing how to hunt down that information. Another tool within that space are ServiceNow campaigns, right? Our clients are using campaigns to target the right message to the right audience at the right time. This really does reduce the reliance on email, but more importantly, improves the employee experience by proactively pushing targeted content, right? So we've seen campaigns used to communicate about when to expect W-2s, really important during this quarter, right? Announce benefit enrollment, new hire reminders, or for example, one client used it to communicate details about regional holiday parties, right? To those that lived in that specific area versus just blasting everybody with kind of generic emails, right? Campaigns cover how an organization can communicate with the employee, but then you have surveys or listening posts, right? Where an employee can then communicate with the organization. We can always guess what the employee wants. We can look for data and so forth, but having them tell us, having that data directly from them is gold. And these surveys can be taken from the Employee Center. You can take them from Slack, from Teams, a text. You could put listening posts anywhere, pretty much, and they don't have to be your typical formal end of year surveys. Essentially, the company is listening to their employees. Then that data can then give you guys the metrics and robust analytics that you can use to interpret to continue improving on the employee experience, right? Whether it's changing the dental benefits, add better tools to reduce downtime, or even get better coffee in the break room, right? Positive changes based on real employee demands. And then this last bullet, and this is an area I think organizations may sometimes view this as fluff or even a distraction, or maybe just lower in priority. But as we move towards a more flexible work structure, I think it's key to maintaining engagement, right? According to data, fostering a sense of belonging in the workforce is as important to an organization's success in the next 12 to 18 months. And 93% of people agree that a sense of belonging drives organizational performance. So as we focus on doing things better and faster and virtually, we might lose some of that belonging. And here's where tools like communities can help foster that belonging. Communities create a forum to encourage interaction. They can be work specific where people can ask questions and others can answer. It could also be used to build a connection, a virtual water cooler per se, right? So perhaps you have a forum devoted to fitness or to virtual gaming hobbies. We've also seen kind of life and work coaching type forums like Women in Business, or how to work more effectively using specific tools like Excel, and sharing those tips and hacks. So having these communities not only enriches an employee's day-to-day, but supports them as they move forward, that whole person. So when COVID hit, organizations scrambled to set up remote access, right? This is especially true in professional services sector, and now everybody has had a taste of it, and a lot of people don't want to return to the office full time, and they're seeking more flexible jobs. Right. So what we're seeing is organizations investing in technology to support hybrid work environments. I have a client in particular that is using Servicenow and scoped applications to promote a hybrid workplace. Employees have the choice to work from anywhere, including the office. They can get the information they need via the employee service center. And then we also configure the tool so that employees can then reserve workspaces for when they want to come into the office. Additionally, we set up wayfinding, so that could be accessed from mobile, from touchscreens around the building, or from a desktop, right? So that visitors as well as other employees can search for people and find out where their reserved desk is for the day. We also tied it to event management and conference room reservation system. Again, further automating the process, reducing downtime, and increasing ease of use. And this really kind of allows our organizations to not only keep their employees safe by controlling how many people are in the office and where, and their distance to each other, but it gives people the flexibility to work independently from wherever they want in a self-sufficient manner, which is really key to retaining talent, as it kind of screams, "We trust you." So historically, data has shown that loyalty to an organization isn't beneficial to an employee, right? It typically has led to stagnant pay and less career growth. The way that employees have been able to get job progression and pay growth was by changing companies. And we want to reduce that, right? Employees need to see the investment in their professional development and career growth. And ServiceNow has introduced employee journey management, which are intelligent, personalized workflows that support career journeys. Right? Our clients are using it to allow managers to support and drive employee experience. They can create a promotion plan. They can provide content recommendation and learning experiences based off of an employee's job interest. They can capture feedback, automate lifecycle events, and this allows an employee to visualize their growth, directly affect it, and do so with their manager support. And then to piggyback on that, it also allows for skills management. Skills management does really cool stuff for the organization and providing providing transparency into the skills that the organization possesses through their people workforce. However, if we extend that and tie it back to career journeys, we can then create an effective learning path, right? And tracking to those, again, providing that transparency to the employee so they can see that the investment that's being made. Another huge direct benefit of skills management is for an organization to be able to identify skill gaps or skill bottlenecks, right? Organizations have historically used this in order to ensure that work continues. But a indirect benefit is that it helps by identifying those skill gaps and being proactive to address those. It will help to address burnout and frustration amongst the employees. You might have a bottleneck or a skill gap where you might only have 1 or 2 people that know how to do a particular item. Those people are going to be working 60, 70-hour weeks. Their managers are going to have a hard time trying to balance their workload, and that's going to create frustration. Those people are going to leave. So by being able to proactively identify those gaps and address them through either hiring or training, you can alleviate that stress and that frustration and that toxicity from that employee's experience. So in closing, there you have it, folks, right? Many people have a clearer idea during this pandemic of what type of work environment they prefer. And they have or will be switching jobs if their current position doesn't support their well-being. So we found ServiceNow personally to be a great tool to addressing employee engagement, the need for flexibility, and a data-driven method for providing employee support.
In the next section of the discussion, we're going to share insights from the experts, from the employees that are on the ground floor experiencing some of these trends, and more importantly, demonstrating with their voice the need for some of those resources that Sabrina discussed. So when we actually talk to employees who are the ones driving this great resignation trend, we heard some clear themes. And interestingly, what you won't see in any of these themes is anything about a bigger paycheck, because it turns out that's not what employees are seeking. That increase in unemployment, 13 million people quit in 2020, in the fourth quarter of 2021 alone. It turns out it's because employees are seeking a sense of fulfillment, purpose. They don't want a work-life balance. They want to feel like their life and their work are integrated in a way that's healthy. They want to work with colleagues that they appreciate, that they respect. They want to feel listened to. They want to feel like they're being challenged. They're being respected. We grouped some of these, some of the common feedback that we received into 4 categories. So I want opportunities to advance my career. I want flexible work hours, but more than that, I want the ability to upskill. I want the ability to feel like I'm the best version of myself at work. And again, things that were maybe things that chafed before, but weren't enough to justify quitting. Now, all of a sudden, with this tide of the great resignation upon us, these things are starting to have a little bit more impact. That abrasive, those things that are abrasive at work are no longer as easily tolerated by employees. So we went then and asked their managers, up to and including the C-suite, what are you doing to combat the great resignation? And we thought today we would share with you a summary of some of the key themes from our research. So the number one theme that became very common across the 250 CIO or C-level conversations was the best leaders trust their employees. And they don't just say they trust employees, they live their values. So this particular CIO said, we made hybrid work permanent and started offering unlimited PTO. That's a common trend. We encourage employees to take mental health breaks when needed. Nobody's penalized because they're caring for an elderly parent or they're homeschooling their child. We're all humans first. We ask a lot from our teams. By demonstrating we believe they'll exercise good judgment and get their work done, we make it clear we trust them. So coaching for you, think about what it means, not just to say we trust our employees, but to take proactive actions to modify your work policies to demonstrate with your work habits, with your practices, with your culture that you actually trust employees. Second common theme, the best employers actively demonstrate respect for employees. We show what it means to respect employees by celebrating what makes them unique. Here's an example. We asked team members to post photos and stories about their cultures and traditions. Sabrina mentioned that concept of a community, but you want that virtual water cooler where employees can feel like their whole self is respected and appreciated, and they can truly bring everything that makes them unique to work. We recently had a cross-functional group perform a Bollywood dance. I asked to see the video of this Bollywood dance from this particular respondent. It's amazing. It's on YouTube. 5,000 employees joined the live stream to see a version of their colleagues that they hadn't seen before. And you know what that did? That unlocked this wave of creativity, this wave of good feelings about who I am, this appreciation for the whole self that represents my colleagues, my global team. And that's what leaders do, is they organically create these opportunities to have these kind of fortuitous experiences for discovery of other team members. Third theme that came out in the research had to do with valuing the employee's time. I talked about in my introductory comments what it means to have a virtual agent that's always available, speaks whatever language your employees speak, and understands about 5 million common work concepts. Well, if you truly value your employees' time, if you respect them, if you trust them, you're going to deliver these experiences so that they can have the best possible experience when they have an issue. You want to remove all that friction from the workplace. That's what employees are fleeing. When we talk about the great resignation, it's because employees are frustrated. They know that friction isn't a requirement. This particular organization says we replaced the traditional knowledge base with conversational AI. Employees just describe what they need using natural language. The bot answers questions, it orders stuff for them, it takes actions, it fixes problems. Little preview of coming attractions. I'll do a live demo of this in a minute. Now there's no need to submit a ticket. That's the stuff that creates friction, that makes employees just rue the day when they have to call the help desk. That's a thing of the past. It's the single best way we've used technology to show we genuinely value employee time. It might seem like a small technological change introducing something like the virtual agent, but to the employee, it unlocks maybe a day a week of additional productivity, and it makes them feel like you value their time. And that makes all the difference when they're thinking about whether or not to invest that extra hour in your organization or potentially get a wandering eye and think about what's next in their career. So tip number 4, this was a recurring theme. The best organizations support what we call the whole employee. So this CIO says our employees have lives outside work. They care for elderly parents, their kids, their friends. We want every employee to feel fulfilled outside work, just like we help them feel fulfilled at work. To do that, we invest in technology that gauges their mental health. So that is a common theme. A lot of employers are starting to proactively provide content related to anxiety. They're providing tips related to meditation. They have these curated experiences that provide the tools and the resources to make employees feel like work is a safe place. It's not a place where you go to get beaten up or where you hide your best self. It's where you go to be around people that care about you and that respect you. We care about the whole person, not just the work product. That's what the best organizations do. Now, what I thought I'd do is show you this in action. So let's go ahead and start by asking the virtual agent something that might have come up frequently in your organization this last month or so with the onset of Omicron and a lot of concerns about home testing. Often employers are offering home tests. So a common question is, I need some kind of a rapid home test to know if I can return to the office. So we'll go ahead and see if that's something that the virtual agent understands. I mentioned 5 million work concepts, so this should be a common one. So let's see if it understands that. So again, pulling from a corpus of about 5 million common work concepts. In this case, the virtual agent, there's no hamster in a wheel here. This is a live example of a virtual agent understanding this, introspecting the employee's intent, pulling up an appropriate answer. Effective last month, up to 4 rapid COVID tests are available per employee every 2 weeks. Looks like a great answer, right? Spot on. That deflected a call. That employee didn't have to wait for hours to get a simple question answered. So another common question, it's been now maybe a couple of years since we've been in the office, and Fido joined us at home. So maybe we want to ask, can I bring my pet to the office? So it's now going to describe what workplace changes have taken place, all of the new policies that are effective post-COVID, and give me a sense of, what changes I should be prepared for. So just in the interest of showing you a variety of experiences, I'm going to go ahead and cut over. So I was showing you this in Microsoft Teams, common interface. Another common interface is Slack. So let's say I'm in Slack. I can do all the same things, just different collaborative interface. And let's say here, it's let's say a technology issue. So maybe the printer's down. So immediately the virtual agent responds, here's how to fix your Dell printer. So that's kind of an easy one. But nice to know that something common like that is available. Other interfaces are supported as well. Sabrina mentioned some of the tools that are available in Servicenow. Thought it might be useful to see in a traditional service portal what the virtual agent looks like. So Teams, Slack, SMS, email, a variety of synchronous or asynchronous chat channels are available for support. This is a traditional knowledge portal or service portal. And I can ask it things like, let's say, a typical thing that would create a ticket, but would be great if the virtual agent knew how to address the old password reset. So now the nice thing about this virtual agent is it's much smarter than a typical live agent. So in this case, it understands that I'm actually locked out of SSO. It understands that I'm eligible to access the application I was trying to access. It's going to go and check to see if the application is up. maybe it's down. And so when I went to the self-service portal, obviously I tried the self-service portal first, it didn't work. So I come to the virtual agent and it's going to introspect with context. Who's the employee? Where are they? Maybe they need VPN access. Maybe it's not a password issue. In this case, it confirms I was locked out of SSO. Actually, I just got the notification. This is my real phone. And I don't know if you can see it, but it actually confirms. I have a link now to reset my SSO password. Pretty great experience. Number of other things that I can do. So common request is I want to see all my open tickets. So it's going to go and based on who I am and what's my situation, show me a list of all my open active issues. Great way to deflect calls. I mentioned most organizations using the PeopleReign virtual agent reduce call volume by 65%. Well, if you're taking all the password issues out, you're taking all the requests for status out, all the policy questions, all the how-to questions, you're typically going to exceed 65%, but at least 65% of your calls are going to get deflected to this autonomous channel, which delivers a much better experience for the employee. So the other nice thing is that it knows what it doesn't know. So let's say, I throw it a curveball. I think maybe this is the travel bot, even though it's the work bot. So I say, see, where's the best gelato in Rome? Not a great question for a work-based virtual agent, but at least in this case, it comes back and it says, I'm pretty sure I don't know the answer to that, but here are the things that are commonly requested. So even in the case where it's a known unknown, the employee still is going to have a really positive experience. So I'll go ahead and say that helped. One of these is probably going to answer my question. It also is good at just understanding kind of the nuances of conversation. So when it realizes I'm finished, it'll ask me, do you want to do anything else? Do you want to submit a ticket? It'll answer questions, submit tickets, take actions on your behalf, add you to a distribution list. Anything common, get your guest on the Wi-Fi network, etc. And when you're done with the conversation, you can always, interact with it. In this case, I say, hey, thanks. And it should detect that it's not a question, it's just a comment. Here, sometimes it can get kind of cute. It says, hey, glad I could help you. And here's a fun fact. I didn't, in fact, know that some jellyfish are immortal. But then the nice capability is we can go back to like a question about, can I bring my dog to work or something like that? In this case, I'll go ahead and show you how the virtual agent would respond. I don't speak French or German. Let's go ahead and ask the virtual agent, and we'll say German. And it should be able to pick up on the fact that I believe I'm asking about bringing my pet to the office or something like that. And it should detect that my language has changed. So it should see that, yeah, that's now my language is German. It switches the flag. It answers. There's a cute picture of Fido. Translates the underlying English content into German on the fly, detects the language, provides a great employee experience for that German employee who now feels like a first-class citizen. So as the virtual agent creates and routes tickets, the value of PeopleReign takes over in the form of two applications for the live agent. So here's an example of a ticket that the virtual agent created. For whatever reason, the live employee said, hey, I want to pull the ripcord, get some help from a live agent, hand me off with context. So live agent handoff happens. PeopleReign has now embedded 3 applications in this ticket. So first off, here are what we call concept lozenges. So from that understanding of about 5 million common work concepts, it pulls out that this request related to a lost connection to the wireless network is related to Wi-Fi, a wireless network, it's related to connectivity. It comes back and says for these fields, the category and the network, these are the right values. So it prevents a ticket from languishing in the wrong queue. I can go ahead and say, I accept those recommendations. And down here, it actually shows contextual recommendations. So PeopleReign has actually embedded the set of next best actions right in the ticket. So without having to do any kind of pogo sticking, any research, I see that the most common way to fix issues related to Wi-Fi is through this knowledge content. Again, 5 million common concepts are understood. The best answer is always going to be embedded by PeopleReign right here in the ticket. So even your most novice agent becomes essentially an expert. Your MTTR, your mean time to resolve, is going to go way down. Your cost per ticket's going to go way down. And this is only in the case where the employee asks to escalate to a live agent. So in this case, I preview that. I go ahead and click the digital pin to say that fixed my problem, and off I go. Best possible experience for a live agent to be able to deliver the best service to employees. And lastly, I'll show you what this looks like from the perspective of a service owner. So as a service owner, I can come in here and see what's trending. So I can actually predict what issues are going to happen because I see what questions are being asked to the virtual agent. I see how issues are being routed. I see which content is being used to answer more employee questions faster. In this case, I see a summary. This is from the past 24 hours. There have been 584 conversations. We call these spark lines. So these are actionable summaries. I can drill down and take some action. 384 calls have been deflected. 183 tickets have been created across 200 unique users. Everything that the virtual agent's doing, everything that relates to ticket routing, everything that relates to contextual recommendations is being fed into this AI-first system of intelligence called PeopleReign and being used to provide these insights that improve the employee experience. What the research revealed is that to be a leader, to emulate the best leaders, to combat that trend, the great resignation that we talked about, here's some things you can do today, immediately, to deliver on the promise of the future of work that your employees expect. So talk to your employees. I know it sounds simple, but use your one-on-ones as an opportunity to ask, how are you doing? Ask them what you expect from work. Are we fulfilling your needs? Do you feel like what matters most to you is reflected in our company culture? Don't just ask them, listen and be prepared to take action based on their feedback. Make sure that your values are aligned with your behaviors. Make sure that you demonstrate at every opportunity that leaders are humans too. You've got a family, you're grappling with some of the same issues they are. Collaborate, listen, ask. Build these into the fabric of your culture. Celebrate small wins. If an employee, let's say in customer success, helps an end customer hit a milestone, deploy an application, stand up a new process, author some new content, acknowledge that team member, make them feel really good, make them feel respected, make them feel trusted, make them feel like their time is valued. Even though some of these wins might seem minor and maybe in the past weren't cause for celebration, use this as an opportunity to tell the employee, tell your team that they are valued, they are respected, and that you're personally invested in creating an environment that makes them feel fulfilled. That's what's going to keep them, again, much more than giving them a raise or giving them a bonus. Reward their success. So acknowledge when they do something great outside work. This might seem crazy, but let's say their kid gets into college. Acknowledge it. That's a really proud moment for a parent. Use that as an opportunity to integrate life and work. It's no longer the case that we're trying to achieve a work-life balance. We're really trying to achieve a life-work integration that embraces the whole person. Part of that life-work integration is stripping away some of the barriers. A couple of years ago, it would have been bizarre to have your kid Zoom bomb you. Now it's okay. It's okay to do. It's okay if you have to pause because your kid needs help turning on Zoom. If you got a kindergartner at home, that's perfectly reasonable. Nobody's going to blame you for it. In fact, you're going to appreciate that you're a human, your team members are humans, and that's the kind of an environment where people feel like they're trusted and they're able to do the best work of their life. Lastly, think about how to integrate an appreciation of the whole employee's well-being into the workplace. So I mentioned the example, there was that quote I shared previously about offering resources for mental health, for improving mental health, helping employees explore a new healthy habit, whether it's meditation or helping them do things to reduce anxiety. Maybe it's something as simple as sponsoring a subscription. Instead of just a gym subsidy, maybe you sponsor a subscription to Headspace and you give them a chance to explore meditation or recommend podcasts to them that might relax them. These are all things that leaders are doing today to help employees feel more respected, more appreciated. See if even one of these resonates with you. Take it back to the office and see what you can do to take some of the findings from this research and become a better leader yourself. I told you we'd leave time at the end for your questions. So let's see, I'm looking at the chat panel and several have arrived already. Good questions. I'm going to peel these off the top of the queue. If we don't have time to get to your question, I promise we'll follow up with you afterward, but I'm going to take the first few before we go ahead and wrap up. You can see here, as part of the sponsorship of this webcast through Thirdera, we're offering a free AI briefing to everyone who's in attendance. We'll also provide the research report. We'll provide a video of this webcast, but take advantage, scan that QR code, take advantage of the offer, get a free AI briefing. It'll be kind of an expanded set of topics like what we've discussed today, but specifically focused on your key performance indicators and potential ways that an AI system of intelligence can benefit your employee experiences. Now, let's see, the first question that came in, let's see, it's from Jean, who says, how is PeopleReign different from what I can do in ServiceNow? Jean, great question. So in a number of ways, so a system of intelligence is not a system of record. ServiceNow is obviously the world's most adopted, most mature system of record. But when it comes to how the decision is made, what action to take, the automation of those two key processes, that's what a system of intelligence does. So the need to manually have an employee call the help desk, wait on hold, submit a ticket to reset a password, that's insanity. That violates everything we just talked about in terms of how to deliver a great employee experience. With a system of intelligence, all of that process will be automated. A system of intelligence speaks the language of the employee. So you saw it speaks German, it speaks 25 other languages, German, English, and 25 others. So every employee feels like a first-class citizen. An AI system of intelligence does a number of things. It automatically manages the data streams to be able to create and manage AI models at scale. It picks the most appropriate algorithm. It figures out how to tune the hyperparameters of those algorithms. It figures out how to select the features from the data that have the highest predictive power. These are all things that a system of record obviously won't do. Now, the system of intelligence is integrated with the system of record. When it figures out what action to take, it will create a record, an HR case, a trouble ticket, whatever it is. And the system of record stores all those artifacts associated with the work that was done by the system of intelligence. But they're very separate. And the system of record relies on the system of intelligence to make it smart, to deliver this fully automated digital experience for the employee. So everything we talked about in terms of meeting the employee's expectations, that's what requires the system of intelligence, complemented by what the system of record does. Other advantages of working with a system of intelligence like PeopleReign are that there's deep domain expertise related to AI built into it. So I mentioned not just the 27 languages, but 5 million concepts related to work you get on day one. So it's the best possible way to understand what an employee is asking for and bring up the right knowledge, provide the right solution. Happy to go into more detail offline, but Jean, hopefully that answers the question. Let's see, next question that came in for multi-language support. What if my knowledge articles are in English? Most of the world has authored their knowledge content in English, even organizations based outside the US. What I actually showed you was an example of knowledge content that was authored in English, but in real time, the system of intelligence detects the native speaker's language and translates it. So what you saw was perfect German translated from an underlying English knowledge article. So you don't have to worry about reauthoring any content. That's the benefit of using AI and using a system of intelligence, is that it's smart enough to recognize that the native language changed, dynamically translate that content into an answer that makes the employee feel really valued, because now they don't have to wait until the German speaker is available on the help desk. 24/7, they can interact with a native German-speaking virtual agent. Let's see, next question is about cost. So PeopleReign is priced based on the number of recommendations that are made by the virtual agent. So the proxy is kind of the number of tickets. So the whole idea behind how you consume PeopleReign is that it's aligned with value. The pricing is predictable and it's transparent. Very simple. You look at how often the virtual agent is going to be used to deflect calls, whether that's automating a password reset or managing distribution lists. and you essentially buy a bucket of recommendations. And kind of like cell phone minutes, as you use up the recommendations, you kind of take a token out of the bucket. And if you don't use them, you don't pay. So align with value, transparent, predictable. Offline, happy to discuss numbers in more detail. It's all based on the volume of recommendations and based on your use cases, but very simple pricing model. Let's see, the next question, I think if it's okay, I'm going to defer to the Thirdera team. And the question is, how do we learn more? So I know we've got a QR code here, but maybe if I could hand that off to John from Thirdera.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dan. So yeah, as Dan mentioned, there's the QR code on the screen, or you can navigate directly to thirdera.com/PeopleReign demo. Enter your email address to get connected with us, get that AI briefing, and let Thirdera reach out and connect with you directly. We'd love the opportunity to learn more about the exact business challenges that you're facing, how the Great Resignation may be impacting your organization, and also share with you what Thirdera is doing to help our customers leverage ServiceNow and PeopleReign to provide automation and intelligence and really drive improved experiences for employees. So we'd love that opportunity to connect with you, share more, get into details, and learn how we can help you out.
Great. Thank you, John. Before we wrap up, I'll take one last question from the queue. How are the 5,000, this comes from Brenda, how are the 5,000 concepts continually updated? So the domain ontologies, what we refer to it's actually 5 million common work concepts, are updated quarterly. So the nice thing about that PeopleReign approach is that you continuously benefit from kind of the amalgamated knowledge of how the whole world delivers employee service. So every quarter, you're going to automatically, through the SaaS subscription from PeopleReign, get these updates pushed to your domain ontology. So as new concepts arise, let's say, a new iPhone comes out, we're looking for, rapid home COVID tests, things like that. They're automatically going to get pushed in the form of new concepts, new content, new answers. So the virtual agent is always going to become the most current, the most knowledgeable resource for your employees, even as the world changes. Good question, Brenda. That's all the time we have for today. Hope you enjoyed today's webcast as much as we enjoyed gathering the research and preparing the summary and presenting these results to you. Thanks again, as always, to our great partner, Thirdera. And we'll be back in 6 weeks with another webcast. And thank you again so much for attending. Dan Turchin from PeopleReign. Have a great day.